Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your Saturday afternoon, joining us for our Okanagan Regional Virtual Effective Speaking Competition. We are going to start this competition now, and everyone is ready here. We have our cadets and our esteemed judges and our guests. So I'd like to welcome you to our Okanagan Regional Effective Speaking Competition. My name is Jermaine Chu. I am the Effective Speaking Coordinator. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather on is unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. Today, we have 5 competitors. We have a few housekeeping rules to cover. Out of respect to the speakers, judges, and audience, we ask that you are muted during the competition. The competition is being recorded and the videos will be posted on the BCPC website once approved. Please decide prior to speech beginning if you would like your video on or off. We will monitor the audio and visual while the speeches are underway. Once this meeting is announced as beginning, those entering late will be admitted in between speeches. The format for today is as follows. Each speaker will present a 5 to 6 minute prepared speech with 2 minutes break for judges to mark. We ask for your cooperation in keeping your systems muted while the judges score. After all prepared speeches are complete, we will take 10 minutes break, and that will allow the judges to finish their marks and email their marks to the designated email address. During that 10-minute break, we will have the cadets move back into their cadet room and prepare for the impromptu section of competition. Impromptu speeches will be 2 to 3 minutes each and will be presented in reverse order. The speakers will not know the topic of speech until they are given 3 minutes to prepare prior to their turn. After the completion of the speeches, we will tally the scores and announce the top 3 names. The gold medalists will continue on to the provincial competition, which will be held on April the 23rd, 2022 on Zoom, and details to follow. Otherwise, email me at effectivespeaking.bcpc@gmail.com. So let's begin and have some fun. Without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce to you Speaker 1. Future of space travel made easy. Future of space travel made easy. Speaker 1.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, judges, fellow cadets, and esteemed guests. Believe it or not, we are living in the future. Now, we may not have phasers, warp cores, or flying cars, but still, the advancements we have would blow the socks off anyone walking out of the box office preview of Back to the Future. However, many technological breakthroughs, the most significant foot forward in our society happens to be space travel. From completely renewable rocket main stages to proposed Mars missions, aerospace tech is becoming globally more and more significant. As it continues to grow and develop, the future of such will come down to 3 paths: exploration, inhabitation, and resource collection. Who knows, we may even see a USS Enterprise in our future. Throughout history, humans have always been explorers. From the first flight by the Wright brothers to the first steps on the moon by Neil Armstrong, we have pushed the limits to boldly go where no man or woman has gone before. The drive to push the boundary of what is considered humanly possible will continue to thrive as we move into the future of space travel. There are plans by nearly every space agency to send their people to the moon. From the National Aeronautics and Space Administration to the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and even the Canadian Space Agency, everybody wants a slice of the moon pie. Not only are there plans to send people to the moon, but Mars and even the Jovian system are potential targets for space exploration in the future. In conjunction with the previous point, sustainable residence will follow our exploration. It is one thing to travel to another world, but it's not enough for our ambition as humans to just go there and leave. So the next steps will be to produce a community on these other worlds. It will start with scientific bases on the moon to research the celestial body and the feasibility of human inhabitants there and across the solar system. Next, humans will spread out to Mars for continued research in the Martian world, looking at geology, the success of human inhabitants, and signs of water and life. In addition to these scientific goals, private sectors such as SpaceX and Blue Origin plan on their own colonization of some other worlds. As time and research continue, plans to reach out as far as colonization of some of Jupiter's moons may become a reality. Even with these complex goals of colonizing other worlds, the plan to still procure space colonies still remains at the table of possibility. As our knowledge and technology continue to grow as we dare to explore and colonize, so will our ability to produce and collect resources. For our colonies and bases to become self-sufficient, they rely upon what is available in their environment. The moon's surface is abundant in silica oxide, aluminum oxide, iron oxide, and other metal oxides, which, when refined, can produce structural members, circuitry for electronics, and solid rocket fuel. The surface of Mars is abundant in iron oxide and all sorts of similar composition to Earth, which too can be refined to produce structural members and semi-metals for circuitry. In both these cases, refining minerals on other worlds can allow a colony to become self-dependent and can provide another source of resource for Earth. However, if we look beyond just utilizing planets and moons, we can find a whole other world of possibility. Asteroids can contain a variety of different elements, from simple silicon to precious metals like ruthenium and rhodium. If a mining colony were to be stationed in the asteroid belt, we would be able to mine more precious metal there than what we have collected in all of human history. That's a lot. So there we have it, a brief look into the future of space travel. We'll start with human exploration, followed by colonization, and conclude with mineral harvesting. Now, I'm no time traveler with a big blue box or a DeLorean, but that's what I foresee in the next 5 decades or so. It's an ambitious idea, but what is the human race without ambition? If not for it, the Earth would still be considered flat. The sky would only contain birds and bugs, and space would just be a sight for the night. We are explorers, is what we do. We dare go into the bold unknown. We achieve what is considered unachievable. We make the impossible become the possible. We strive for greatness, for we are great. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker 1. And next, we have Speaker 2. What is the impact of social medias on youth? What is the impact of social media on youth? Speaker 2.
Good evening, Madam Chair, cadets, judges, and guests. Hold on. It should be no surprise to you that social media has transformed many aspects of us as humans. For example, 20 years ago, we would look insane if we were to constantly take photos of our meals. Nowadays, it's the norm to do such things. This new net communication has been influenced to billions of people around the world, many of which are teenagers similar to that of myself and other cadets. I'd be correct to assume that most of you use some sort of social media platform. In the last 15 to 20 years, it has never been easier to make friends, thanks to apps such as Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. These apps give people access to millions of other people worldwide, making it extremely easy to pick out people that you share interests with and make friends. Social media has also allowed people to communicate back and forth whenever they may be. Nowadays, you can shoot a direct message to someone who lives thousands of kilometers away, something that people would consider to be science fiction a few decades ago. These abilities social media provides are also extremely helpful when you want to communicate with someone without actually talking face to face, something that I tend to do sometimes. However, this network that allows us to talk to each other despite not being together is not all sunshine and rainbows, and has taken a large toll on the younger generation. We've become addicted to it to the point we can't resist looking at our phones whenever it buzzes. We use it for hours on end to try and find something interesting. Social media can be as addictive as things such as gambling. Every time I press the refresh button, it's like spinning a slot machine. Keep on trying and trying our luck, see if we get something good. Along with addiction, social media also causes depression, mostly among younger, more manipulative teenagers. We've become more depressed because of not getting enough likes on our posts and unrealistic beauty standards imposed onto us by models and other internet influencers. A study on the mental health of teens has shown the rates of depression have increased by more than 60% among kids aged 14 to 17. Another study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found the suicide rate among teenage girls aged 15 to 19 hit a 40-year high in 2015. Between 2007 and 2015, the rates doubled among girls and rose by more than 30% amongst teen boys. The reasons behind the shocking spike in youth suicide in recent years can all be traced back to social media. Another point of issue I'd like to address is not a problem with social media specifically, but also many other internet platforms. This problem is called cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a form of bullying where the bully can harass and intimidate people through the safety of being behind a screen. Social media has been fuel for this pre-existing problem, allowing them to reach more people and bully them. The issue of cyberbullying is also extremely damaging to our youth and is also a large factor to the recent spike in teenage depression. Now that we know what this online sensation is and the effects it has on today's youth, it begs the question, what do we do to fix this? How do we treat the ailments that these platforms directly and/or indirectly caused? Well, the first step of solving any problem is to understand what the problem is. More people need to know that their daily habit of looking at social media can, over time, have a negative impact on both ourselves and those close to us. We can begin by trying to notice our unhealthy patterns on social media. Try to take breaks every now and then, set goals for yourself, such as not checking social media for a day or a week or longer, or such examples. Every now and then, I try and do some of those things myself, using social media for only 2 hours, hour 50 minutes, hour 45 minutes, hour and a half, so on and so forth. Depending on how severe one's social media problem may be, we may need a third party to step in and handle it. We can seek help from friends or parents to control our usage. Furthermore, I believe that knowing the mental health risks of social media are crucial if we want to make an effort to fix the dilemmas social media has caused us as youth, and that it is best that we take action now before mental health amongst youth continues to deteriorate until it becomes too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker 2. Going on to Speaker 3. What is the impact of social media on youth? What is the impact of social media on youth? Speaker 3.
Your life is not very different from a book. Just like your life is split up into many different sections, a book is split up into many different pages. Just like every hour of your life starts out the same in the beginning until you, the author, make your mark. Every page in a book starts out the same until that author makes theirs. For every hour in your life, you have a page in your book. Now we can either waste our pages, rip them out of our books, crumple them up and throw them away, or we can save our pages to write and accomplish amazing things. Now, when you accomplish amazing things with your pages, it's very easy to feel good about yourself. But when you waste your pages, it's very hard to feel proud of yourself. Contest chair, judges, honorable contestants, and fellow authors, I had 10 pages, 10 hours left until a very big test. I still had so much material to study and so many concepts I still needed to go over. I felt that I didn't have enough time to get it all done. Have you ever had that problem? 1 hour into studying, I saw out of the corner of my eye an ad pop up on the computer I was working on. It was bright green and it caught my gaze and it gave its message. It said, "You have potential, but not forever. If you join our investing platform, maybe we can help you find that financial potential." This ad gave me a social media spark. A social media spark is when you're curious about something on social media. It can be about anything, a sports score or how to prank a sea cadet. It's a social media spark that pushes you to check social media. What is that spark that pulls you in? My spark is economics. I love finances. So when I saw that ad, I went, ooh, and I clicked on it. And here's how the big social media companies pull you in. Dr. Mike Brooks, a clinical psychologist, said that humans are naturally drawn to social connection. And he went on to say that social media connection is like fulfilling that connection in a very unhealthy way. That ad gave me a choice between boring studying and fulfilling my need for social connection when I was on their platform. I wanted to connect with the photos and the videos of their investment team. And I wanted to connect with the stories that they shared about the stock market. On that day, I decided to choose social media. And that first click turned into a scroll and a scroll and a scroll. That 9 hours I now had left turned into 8, then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2. There were just 2 hours, 2 pages left when I began studying again. I know what it feels like to have wasted your entire day. I know what being unproductive feels like when there's so much else you could have done. I felt terrible and I felt angry with myself that I had wasted so many of my pages. Because when you waste your pages, it's very hard to feel good about yourself. With just 2 hours left, I got up out of my chair, feeling terrible. I hunched over to where my parents were sitting. I looked at my mom and I looked at my dad and I said, "I have 15 pages of notes to study. I don't understand questions 3 through 15. My test is tomorrow and I don't have no idea what to do." My dad got up and looked at me. He said, "Anthony, you had potential today, but that potential didn't last forever." Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't miraculously do well on that test. In fact, I didn't do anywhere as close to what I was hoping for. It's very sad to think that millions of students and youth have unwantingly wasted so many of their pages on social media. Youth are the future leaders of Canada. We can't afford to let them lose so many of their precious pages. As another expert, Professor William Hoffman of Chicago University put it, youth get hooked on social media, looking for social connection and dopamine, which comes from the likes, the comments, and the notifications, keeps them there and coming back. Professor William Hoffman also didn't leave out that we can learn to control our social media usage. Today, although not without my flaws, I've learned and gotten better at managing my time, my social media time, and I've done my best to make the most of every single page. Ladies and gentlemen, looking at all of you, I can tell that you have potential, but not forever. When you leave this Zoom call, you still have about 7 hours, 7 pages left. Don't rip them out of your books, crumple them up and throw them away because you get a social media spark. Save them and make something amazing. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker 3. Moving along, we have Speaker 4. Because we are seeing a heightened interest and travel into space, what do you see as the future of space travel? Because we are seeing a heightened interest and travel into space, what do you see as the future of space travel? Speaker 4.
Good evening, everybody. It is very evident in today's society that space travel is a very futuristic topic that shows no signs of stopping down. The research dedicated to this has also been very advanced. Scientists have gone from sending dogs and chimpanzees into space to sending humans to space. After doing research into this, two very important and thought-provoking questions popped into my head. First of all, is it possible to send both animals and humans into space? More specifically, humans and pigs. If so, wouldn't that make a very profitable industry? The reason why it would be a profitable industry is a phrase created in the 1600s, when pigs fly. This phrase is used when people are skeptical of an individual's ideas. You may be even saying it to my predictions. But after hearing me, I, Flight Sergeant Vritti Bakshi, hope to show you the future industry that will be known as the flying space pigs industry, that will change the way we know space travel as it is. Space travel is a very popular industry because people are always looking for the next big thing and the next technological breakthrough. People want space to become more accessible and for anybody to travel, almost like an airplane system. And the way NASA's predictions have been going, it seems that this is possible. Spacecrafts like BEAM, the Bigelow Expandable Activity Model aircraft, shows that they take into consideration the comfort of astronauts, and they want them to stay in space longer. Companies like SpaceX also take this into consideration and are working on spacecraft called Starship that could take the average person into space without decades of preparation and training, almost like an airplane. This technology will make a profitable industry, as well as make researching space easier. Who wouldn't want to travel to space? And making it so that the average person can travel to space will show scientists a new perspective on the universe, which will help them, in turn, make more spacecraft that is accessible for anybody. What my predictions and these companies' predictions have in common is that they take the interest of the astronaut, which leads me to how bringing pigs into space will benefit the future of space travel. A study done in 2014 shows that having a companion with you, like a pet, can reduce levels of cortisol, a stress hormone found in the brain, as well as blood pressure. This could be useful for astronauts, since traveling to space is a little bit stressful. In the past, animals were only used to experiment when bringing into space. But now, thanks to ethical standards, as well as further research done into taking animals to space, we have learned that it's very much possible to bring them with us, and it may be beneficial to humans as a whole. Examples of animals that have been sent out into space are dogs, chimpanzees, tadpoles, frogs, and rats. These animals have shown us that they can adapt to microgravity and the air pressure in space very quickly, making them more than capable to thrive and survive into space. The benefits of bringing a pig specifically to space is that they're one of the most advanced and smartest mammals that we know. And bringing them into space and seeing how they react will show us how dogs and cats could also react into space. There's always the possibility of a pig reacting negatively to space that astronauts have to be aware of. But thanks to the research and ethics standards, as I mentioned earlier, this is very much unlikely. How will the pigs stay in space, you ask? That's a great question. The pigs will have a well-thought enclosure and will eat compressed food, drink out of pressurized water systems, and their waste will be brought into a waste containment system, similar to the ones used for the rats that we had brought out into space. The saying "when pigs fly" refers to the fact that pigs actually cannot fly. And thanks to the rise of technology, you can find almost any person who said that phrase. What does this have to do with the future of space travel? It means that we can hold people accountable for their words and make them pay up to make sure that they are held accountable for what they say. This in turn will help the economy. Have you seen how the economy is today? The companies that have invested into this project will also be able to make more money because of stocks. People who invest into the flying space industry stocks will hopefully make more money in turn, which will make this a very profitable industry for them. People like Elon Musk like to make their money efficiently, and things that will make their company stand out will help them bring more investors into their company. I mean, what makes a company stand out more than sending both humans and pigs into space? After hearing all of this information, one question still stands. Who is crazy enough to go into space with their pet pig simply for a petty saying that was made centuries and centuries ago? The answer is me. I am crazy enough. I will become the first ever astronaut to travel into space with her pet pig, and I will make millions of those who have said, "When pigs fly." Once scientists are able to bring both humans and pigs into space, which it seems very much likely, space travel will become reality for an average person, because people will realize that they can go into space if they put their hearts and minds into it. And if they don't want to go alone, they can bring their furry friends along. I hope to see you all at my future space conferences with my pig. This has been Flight Sergeant Bakshi on When Pigs Fly.
Thank you very much, Speaker 4. Speaker 5, because we are seeing a heightened interest in travel into space, what do you see as the future of space travel? Because we are seeing a heightened interest and travel into space, what do you see as the future of space travel? Speaker 5.
Imagine you're a little child in the near future, gazing with excitement and awe at a space shuttle. You are elated beyond belief that you get to go and visit space. Unlike now, where space is restricted to astronauts only, in the future, space shuttles could potentially be for commercial use. Contest chair, judges, and audience. I am Sergeant Marathi, and today I'll be speaking to you about the future of space exploration. To start, let us look at the many industrial advantages that we get from the frontier we know as space. Firstly, we all know that Earth has a finite amount of resources that slowly diminishes every year. The process of extracting these minerals from the ground is very unclean and unhealthy for the surrounding nature and wildlife. But what if there's a way to negate both of these problems while simultaneously getting limitless amounts of materials for all of our needs? Well then, let me introduce you to the concept of space mining. It really is quite simple, well, compared to the rest of the things I'll be speaking to you about today. All you have to do is find an asteroid, pull it back to Earth's orbit, bring your mining materials up to space, and start mining. Like I said, very simple. The obvious main problem to this proposition is the monstrous cost attached to it. However, as companies like SpaceX make it cheaper to send things to space every year, this could become a more viable option in the near future. One other thing is that the cost might only be a problem for the first space mining operation, as the profits will vastly offset any cost that was spent. One example of an asteroid called 16 Psyche, which is 230 kilometers across, has enough iron, nickel, gold, and platinum to sustain our entire world supply for those materials for millions of years, easily making whoever starts space mining first the world's first trillionaire. Now I think it's about time that we get onto something a bit more exciting, which is commercial space tourism. Thankfully, private companies have already taken the lead on this, with companies like Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. This might happen sooner than we thought, for it's cheaper for private companies to send things to space than government institutions. Another thing you might know is that Virgin Galactic has already started sending people into low Earth orbit, which is a huge step in the right direction. But I think we can go a little bit further than that. I am talking about putting hotels into space. Now think about it. We can send hundreds of satellites into space for the sole purpose of being a hotel. Space shuttles can dock on said satellite. Visitors will be treated to 5-star amenities and accommodations, and will have a once-in-a-lifetime surreal view of the Earth from their hotel room window. This will drive up demand for going into space, since you have a reason to go and a place to stay while you're up there. And when demand goes up, prices will come tumbling down. Therefore, making this opportunity open to more people, the more people we send to space. Genius. Even though this is quite a big leap from what we're doing now, I see that we can put our eyes even further away from Earth and visit the place where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on over 50 years ago. That's right. I'm talking about colonizing the moon. Like asteroids that I mentioned earlier, the moon has tons of valuable resources that we can extract, like titanium, platinum, gold, uranium, and helium-3. A moon base could also temporarily solve the overpopulation problem we might find ourselves soon here on Earth, and by being self-sufficient, could support a permanent population. It is also easier to launch missions to other parts of their solar system from a moon base. So why hasn't this happened yet? Well, of course, it's always cost, but more specifically, the lack of prioritization from world governments. You see, a moon base is probably pretty low on government's to-do list compared to other pressing matters. Hopefully, in the near future, however, governments could see the potential of a moon base and get to work making it. In conclusion, this speech covered the future of space exploration, how space can be industrialized, how we can set up hotels in space to drive up demand, and how we can colonize the moon. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker 5. And that concludes our first half of our competition. All the prepared speeches are complete. And we have sent our cadet into our impromptu write-up room, and they are going to be receiving their briefing and then their 3 minutes to collect their thoughts and organize a presentation for us. So for impromptu, we will be presenting in reverse order, and it would be starting with Speaker 5. And here we have it, Speaker 5. Speaker 5, the impromptu question that you were given was, how are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? Speaker 5.
Contest chair, judges, and audience. I am Sergeant Marathi, and today I've been given the question, how are countries similar to neighbors? For me personally, I really like this question. I love the study of countries, and I feel like this is right up my alleyway. So let's get started. I can find a few similarities between nations and neighbors. To start, being friends. Your neighbor is often your closest friend. And I can tell you an example of this between Canada and US. There's arguably no two countries that are closer together than Canada and US. We have been by each other's side for centuries, and I doubt that's going to change. One other example is disputes. So maybe a neighbor moved the fence just to get a few extra feet of a yard, and the neighbor noticed it and did not like it. Well, there's a few examples of that in the world as well. India and Pakistan. To my knowledge, they have one of the most convoluted borders disputes I have ever heard of. Just hundreds of enclaves and exclaves and territorial disputes that hopefully does not blow up into a war. One other example I can think of is get-togethers or parties. I can say this is like ambassadors in other countries, just making deals and just strengthening relations. So, in conclusion, I have talked about
how countries are similar to neighbors, and how they're similar as friends, and disputes and get-togethers. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker 5. All right, here we are, speaker 4. The impromptu question was, how are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? Speaker 4.
Hello, Madam Chair, judges, fellow cadets. Now, we all know that countries are like neighbors when you think about the people and you think about the border. But when you see neighboring countries, it's a little bit more different because the relationships are a little bit more special. I feel like the best way to describe bordering countries, for example, Canada and the US, is bittersweet. Think about your neighbors. You could be best friends with them, but you still have your differences at the end of the day. For example, my neighbor and I, we're very close. We have our conversations. But when it comes to painting the fence, she wants it yellow, I want it purple. This can be also applied to countries, where when you think about things like, the newest things that have been coming up, COVID regulations, you think about how it is where it's like America's, I want something, and Canada's, I want something else. They obviously have to come to some kind of agreement, because at the end of the day, having a yellow and a purple fence would look very silly and it just wouldn't make sense aesthetically. The same way having COVID regulations wouldn't make sense to both sides. There's also other kinds of neighbors. Another one I could use for an example is India and Nepal. The people there are considered besties. When you think about it, Nepal is much smaller than India, and India is almost like, when your neighbor has a big bulldog in the yard that always protects you. India is Nepal's bulldog, and they both protect each other. Another thing that comes into play is house decorations, which could be considered flags. When you look at borders, and especially for neighboring countries, you often see flags that have both one side and the other sides represented together. These can be either very tacky or they work well together. I'm once again going to use Canada and the USA since, they're our closest neighbors. Our flag has the maple leaf, it's red and it's white, while America's has stripes, stars, blues, reds, and whites. Now, altogether, our flags combined make a rather interesting duo, but they still work. And overall, I think countries that are neighbors are often just bittersweet old people that end up, at the end of the day, have their differences, but still make it work because they have to. This has been Flight Sergeant Vritti Bakshi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, speaker number 4. We do have speaker 3 with us. And the question is, how are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? Speaker 3.
Imagine this, you're in a car, you look out the window and it's dark, very dark. You're driving on a very isolated highway, moving at 80 kilometers an hour and quickly increasing in speed. My dad was driving and we were trying to make it to the Canadian border after our trip from the United States. We brought with us an American violin, as they called it. It was specially made in Montana from a fiddle competition. And we were excited to bring it back to the United States. But the border was about to close in 10 minutes, and we might not be able to make it back into Canada. So in the back seat in the car, we were driving faster and faster, going around the turns, hopefully not hitting a deer. And as we got closer and closer, we got nervous as the time got closer and closer to when the border was closed. When we were driving, we felt that we needed to get back into Canada, because we had a connection to Canada. We believed that if we were in Canada, that was our home. But when we were coming back from the United States, we brought with us something from the United States. We brought a bit of the United States culture. And this is because when there's two countries that are close together, each country brings with them a little piece of their culture into that country. This is why Canada and the United States, in a sense, are more diverse, because we're connected and we can influence each other's culture. With that violin that I brought back, I was able to play it in front of many different friends and families and audiences. And it brought joy to so many people to hear a funny sounding violin made in America. And it's this that will build countries. With the COVID-19 pandemic, countries have had to close off, and Canada hasn't been getting that same influence from the United States. And the United States hasn't been also getting that same influence. But if once we start opening up after the pandemic, I believe that we can start to increase the diversity and culture from the United States and other countries around Canada. Because with a border can still bring in culture. And I hope that Canada can continue to be diverse from other countries around it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker 3. Next, we have Speaker number 2. How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? Speaker 2.
Well, many countries share many things between each other. For example, Canada and the US. Much of our culture is similar to the US. We listen to pretty much the same music, watch the same movies, do the same stuff, or most stuff that Americans typically do. And hold on. Bordering countries as well also share things such as similar language, such as Russia to Kazakhstan. Much of their language is written similar, looks similar, sounds similar, and yeah, and what? Oh my, excuse me. And plus, and another thing is that when I was in Florida a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that there's a lot of Cuban culture down there. Considering Cuba is not too far away from Florida, many of which has to do with immigration and whatnot. But immigration is also the reason why some countries share a different language or culture or whatnot, such as I said before, Florida and Cuba, and many other places such as US and Mexico, more south in Texas and California. And notice that there's a lot more Hispanic sort of language and culture and things like that. And yeah.
All right. Thank you, Speaker 2. And we have Speaker 1. How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? How are countries that border each other similar to neighbors? Speaker 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, judges, guests, and fellow cadets. Now, I'm sure we've all had that one neighbor that can just be a little bit too much. Maybe it's that they're always peering over the fence, looking out the window, or looking for every opportunity to maybe give you a poke and talk to you. We can compare this single neighbor to potential real life scenarios, looking at different countries that sit next to each other. And we can explore this by looking at countries wanting to know things about each other, countries bugging each other about space, and countries looking for others that have what they want. So to start off, let's look at countries wanting to know what's happening with one another. The biggest example of this could be the Cold War, where we have Russia and the USA sending spy aircraft, spies and whatnot, all to try to get more intel as to what the other's doing. And we can easily see this in other neighbors that just sit by the window all the time, watching you in your house or outside, or those that sit on the fence and just peer up to look at you. It can easily be compared to a neighbor in that sense. Even now, with some of what we have going in the world, countries want to know what's happening with other people. Look at Google Maps, for instance, the ability to actually stare into other people's countries and say, hey, I can see what's happening there. So with that, we can say easily that two countries next door to one another can be comparable to two neighbors wanting to learn more about each other indirectly. Next, space. And space can be a huge problem when you have two houses very close to one another. So let's say I was a builder with my house and I wanted to put up a fence. If I put up a fence, there's a nice fence between my house and my neighbors. The neighbor might not be too happy about that, even though it's my space. Well, you see, he might want to move it, but he can't. Same thing goes to these countries. The borders and whatnot, they might want to move them and change them, but you can't. They're the country's borders, and they might get upset in doing so. And finally, looking for other things. If I have a nice pool in my house, my neighbor might want to use it. My neighbor might want to use my sauna or whatever sort of activities I have that go along with my house. And quite frankly, countries are like that too. If we look at, let's say, resources, for example, if I wanted resources another country has, I can't quite get those unless I, impede on the other neighbor. So with all said, neighbors can definitely be comparable to countries these days. And especially now with current global affairs, we can see just that. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker One. And that concludes our speeches for today. We are going to send our judges and timers with our tally into their judges room. They will finalize their scoring and send forth to the tally person. And while they are doing that, we are going to get to know our cadets. So let's start with Speaker One. Speaker One, introduce yourself, rank, name, and squadron you're with.
Hello, I am Warrant Officer First Class Jade Rossner, and I am with 223 Red Lion Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron here in Vernon, BC.
Welcome back, Warrant Officer First Class Rossner. Nice to see you again. Now, last year we had quite a few questions. We did, but this audience is different now. So what's your favorite subject in school?
Oh, I have a few, but my most favorite has to be physics. I really enjoy being able to understand how certain things happen around me and why they do so, and then being able to explain it through numbers.
All right. Thank you, Warrant Officer First Class Rossner. So physics, now do you apply that to cooking as well?
The cooking. I don't think I have quite applied physics to cooking just yet, unless we're talking about throwing things from point A to point B into a cooking pot or something.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking more of chemistry than that
Maybe.
timing. Maybe that's what it is. Now, 2 years of restrictions, it's been hard on all of us, and we're all kind of video conferenced out, let's say, whether it was Discord, WhatsApp, MS Teams, Microsoft 365. Holy smokes, I learned a lot during these 2 years here. But while that we were away and now we're going back into person, what do you look forward to most back at Cadets?
I look forward to getting what the program is really meant for back into action. Gliding and flying, right? I'm looking forward to getting that whole program back into action. The familiarization flights, the courses, getting the pilots coming back to help the squadrons and help the actual cadet program. It's quite the exciting thing that, makes the Air Cadets what the Air Cadets are. It makes them different from the other programs, right? So I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. And what course did you like to teach the most?
Ooh, I am a big aerospace guy. So I love teaching aerospace.
Fantastic. Sounds good. Now, because we've been homebound, let's say, is there any new hobbies that you've learned or activities that you've just learned?
Just learned. I guess I could talk about programming. That was quite a fun time. Starting off with, started actually a few months back, and I needed it for one of my rocket projects, but in a sense, it kind of spun out of COVID. So, it's quite a different world looking into how to make a computer do what you want it to. But that's one of the neatest hobbies I've learned so far. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Thank you very much, Warrant Officer First Class Rossner. Next, we're going to have Speaker Two. If you may introduce yourself, your rank, your name, and the squadron you're with.
All right. My name is Sergeant Battersby. I'm from 223 Red Line Squadron,
let's start off with what's your favorite summer training? Sergeant, you joined early, right? So have you gone to summer camp?
Um, well, my first year I didn't because I was kind of too chicken, I'll be honest. And then COVID hit, and then the summer camps I did were online.
So I hear that they have new programs coming. It's hybrid, so there's going to be two different ones. So hopefully it will be available to you this coming summer. So that would be exciting. Let's go into, let's say, indoor or outdoor person. Looks like
Well,
you're staring.
I like to be indoor, but only for a certain amount of time. Then it kind of gets to me. And then I was like, I need to do something inside.
You and me both. It gets a little, I get antsy. I can't stay in for too long. But yeah, I stare out the window and just want to go out. And thankfully I have a dog. I go walk my dog. That's as far as I can get with going out. But do you like summer or winter sports if you're going out?
I prefer winter sports. I like skiing. And I do all. I ski.
Snowboard or a skier?
Oh, I ski.
Ski.
I can't use a snowboard. But
Hey, to each their own. I couldn't learn. I didn't know how to ski, but I figured out how to snowboard. And it was pretty hard on the backside for sure. So yeah, snowboarding, but skiing for you, fantastic there. Favorite subject at school?
favorite subject at school currently, I would say socials. We just finished a unit about World War I.
So you're interested in history. All right, so thank you very much, Sergeant Battersby. So let's move on to speaker 3, your rank, name, and squadron you're with.
My name is Sergeant Phelan. I'm with 243 Squadron.
Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. And tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your favorite outdoor sports or indoor activity?
Like Sergeant Basbury said, he was winter. I think I'm summer. I think that it's just a lot easy to not have to put on all the snow pants and gear, and think about forgetting the gloves when you're going skiing, and just going out to the beach and having fun out there. I love outdoors.
T-shirt and shorts and off you go, right?
Yes, that's right.
Now, you also play a musical instrument, the fiddle or violin?
Yes, that's right. I enjoy playing the violin. It's lots of fun. In the symphony, I was at the Okanagan Youth Symphony, and also I like going busking downtown, which is lots.
Bravo, very nice. And busking downtown, is that on a weekly basis or just whenever you have time?
It only goes in the summer, because otherwise the violin will be toast in the winter.
Oh, true enough. You'd have to change the strings for sure.
Definitely.
All right. So, Sergeant, have you gone to summer camps or is there
I
an activity? Have not?
It's the strange situation with COVID that sergeants have still not gone to a training camp. So
Yeah, well, yeah, there's going to be activities happening. Keep your eyes open and peeled for those, and sign up for it. It's quite exciting, and there's lots to learn and so many friends to meet with, whether it was a virtual or in-person activity there. So good on you there. I am going to zip along and move. Thank you very much, Sergeant Phelan. I'm going to move along to speaker number 4. Introduce yourself, your rank, name, and squadron you're with.
Hi, I'm Flight Sergeant Bakshi, and I'm with the 232 Bighorn Squadron in Oliver.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Flight Sergeant, for joining us. Now, same thing. What's your favorite subject in school?
I think it has to be law.
Law.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot of studying. There's going to be more years to come for you. But bravo, good on you there. It's good future goals, definitely there. Let's go. Favorite foods that you have?
Ooh, okay. I really like ravioli. Just when me and my mom make ravioli together, it's like a special experience, but also eating it is twice as good. So, we love doing that. So I have to say ravioli.
Bravo, fresh and from scratch too. Bravo. Good job there. And one more. One more. Let's see. New hobbies that you've learned, that you've just learned during this 2-year period.
I think it'd have to be baking. I
Ah.
feel like, during quarantine and everything, that gave me a lot of time to, go to the kitchen and experiment with all these different things. And like, I feel like I love baking with wildflowers and stuff and like all these things that, you wouldn't expect to find in like an average kitchen, and just experimenting and, seeing what works and what doesn't. I actually just made cake pops today. So yeah.
Fantastic. Where is mine? Fantastic. Thank you very much, Flight Sergeant Bakshi. Now, next we have speaker number 5. Introduce yourself, your rank, name, and squadron you're with.
Hello, everyone. I am Sergeant Marathi, and I am from 243 Ogopogo Squadron in Kelowna.
Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. And let's see, favorite subject in school?
I like social studies.
Socials. All right.
But,
Now, here's a question that just popped into my head, and I didn't get a chance to offer it to the other contestants, but let's see how you do. What do you find the most important in effective speaking? It's really the hardest question.
I think the most important thing is just learning to be confident in your speaking skills.
I would agree. That it stands out, doesn't it? The confidence when you speak, and to use your words properly, projection and organizing your thoughts is very important. So great job on that there. Sergeant Murthy, what do you miss most about cadets?
What I miss most is doing all the fun stuff like gliding and just all that. I did that the first year of cadets, but I haven't done it since. And also my squadron was going to plan a trip to go to Cold Lake over spring break, but that got canceled due to COVID.
Yes, hopefully, crossing our fingers, hopefully soon that we can all get back to some normalcy of what we knew of what cadet used to be, and then continue with the activities and again, bonding with our peers and having fun is ultimately what I want to get back to for you cadets out there. Thank you very much, Sergeant Murthy. And again, thank you, Bravo Zulu, to all of our cadets today. And I have my judges back with me, and I'd like to have our judges to rename yourself, and I'm going to have a little chat with each of you. All right, so with that, Judge 1, we just finished with our cadets interview. I'd like to have you say a few words and introduce yourself there.
Well, I'm Peter Meadham. I've been with 204 in Kamloops for the last 7 years. I recently moved to Alberta, but I still do some work with the squadron, and I've been their league rep and what have you, as well as their treasurer and good things. And I'm quite interested in the squadron itself and help them out where I can. And it was a very interesting afternoon of listening to the speakers. They all did very well, and it was quite interesting to sit in as a judge this time. I've sat in as a spectator in prior years, but it was nice to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Medema. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and now in a different position, so your perspective is also very different there. So again, thank you for your time. May I have Judge 2 to say a few words?
Hi. I'm Christy Campbell. I am the SSC chair for 204 Black Maria. Been doing cadets, helping out for 5 years. Maybe another year or 2 left. This is my first attending of the zone competition. I have to say, well done, cadets. This was quite entertaining. And I appreciate the hard work that you guys put in on your speeches. And I know how nerve-wracking it can be, so I was really impressed with the effort that you guys put in today. Well done.
Thank you very much, Ms. Campbell, for your time and for your kind words to our cadets. If I may have Judge 3 have a few words for our cadets.
Okay, hello. What a great way to spend the afternoon. I was out with Christy last night and she got a phone call about being a judge and she told me what it was all about. I'm not part of the cadets, but I thought what a great way to spend the afternoon. I thought everybody did a wonderful job and good luck with everything. And I was just really happy to be a part of it for everybody. So, yeah.
Thank you very
That's
much, Diane, for your time. And
Hey.
it's always great to have different perspectives from our all different judges. So that is
Yeah.
the great way to have a average of what each of our speakers are like there. Now, our slides are ready, but before I do that, I like to give the floor to any of our audience members who'd like to do a shout out or to say a few words to our cadets. Anyone? Okay. So with that, I would like to thank our effective speaking coordinators and officers that assisted us today, which was, I believe, CI Casper from 243 Ogopogo. Thank you for being a coordinator there. Thank you to Captain Schwarwin from 223. She has also been paramount in helping me getting these forms submitted and the cadets ready. And Captain Amy Encina from 232. Thank you very much for supporting us in our effective speaking program here. Now, with that, I'd also like to throw a shout out to my support team. I'd like to thank our host squadron, 204 Black Maria, for helping me find our volunteers and to host this year's effective speaking program here. Not only that, I'd like to thank Ms. Catherine Chack, our impromptu supervisor, and our Captain Daniel Colosi from Thompson, Manitoba. That has been our tech support. So thank you very much, everyone, for all your hard work and making this effective speaking competition such a success. Now, if I could trouble for Captain Colosi, if you'd like to share screen. Now, this brings us to the awards presentation. Here we have it for the Okanagan Regional Effective Speaking Competition. Bronze medalist is 232 Flight Sergeant Bakshi. Bravo, thank you very much. Going on to our silver medalist. Silver medalist is from 243 Sergeant Phelan. Bravo, Zulu. And drum roll for the gold medalist goes to 223 Warrant Officer First Class Jaden Rosner. So, well, congratulations to all our participants and our medalists. Bravo, Zulu, to all of you. It took courage for you to come out to this competition and present to us, and also great effort to everyone for preparing your speech. We will have the Provincial Effective Speaking Competition is held on the April 23rd, 2022. It is a Zoom link, which I will be sending out in a mass email. I think I've already sent it out, but I will send out a reminder in the next week. The time has changed because usually the provincials are in the afternoon, but this year I'm having it early in the morning, nice and early, so we can have the rest of our afternoon. And I can send out those details. If you have questions, certainly contact me at effectivespeaking.bcpc@gmail.com. Thank you very much, Captain Colosi there. Now, cadets, we will be mailing out those bronze pins, certificate of merit with the judges' evaluation forms as soon as possible. Judges, if we have not received your mailing address, please forward those to me to my email address, and I will be able to send forth a small gift of gratitude for your assistance today. Our appreciation to the coaches, officers, judges, parents, and the regional host squadron of 204 for locating the volunteers and making this year's virtual effective speaking competition such a success. Our gratitude to BCPC BC for their support in this effective speaking program. And this concludes our 2022 Okanagan Virtual Effective Speaking Competition. I thank you and have a great rest of the afternoon. Now don't go away. I need to take pictures. So please come online, show your beautiful faces, and then I could take some pictures. Big smiles, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out and supporting this competition. Multiple screenshots. Thank you. And have a great afternoon. Congratulations to all the medalists and congratulations to all our cadets that came out today. Take care.